Hey there everyone, welcome back to Oh Brother Comics. Today, we'll be going over our 10 in 10 video where we go over 10 books that came out this last Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. Well, we've only got 10 minutes or less to get through this, so let's stop wasting time. Nick, I believe you're up first. What you got for us this week, brother?
All right, so first up for me is Killer Queens #1 by Dark Horse Comics. This is written by David Booher and illustrated by Claudia Balboni and Harry Saxon. This was just a fun, somewhat light-hearted issue. It follows a pair of ex-assassins on the run from their previous employer as they try to make their way in the galaxy doing jobs that don't require killing. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked the story, and it's just a fun romp through space with a couple of killer queens. I rated this at a 3.5 out of 5.
The next book we'll be talking about is Nocterra #6 by Image. The writer is Scott Snyder and the artist is Tony Daniel. It was a fast-paced and action-packed issue for sure. Snyder and Image both tweeted out a future TV series or movie for this comic book run, Nocterra. The main character is a chick named Val who presents as a hardened individual in a world terrorized by large creatures that thrive in the darkness. They very much absolutely mutilate people, but it seems they also can infect humans, I suppose, and turn into these monstrous creatures as well, as evidenced as one of the supporting characters' grandfather. It was a cool issue knowing there is a movie or TV series coming out. I'm more tempted to catch up on the story because of that. However, if it wasn't for that news, I probably would just leave it as a solid kind of average plot, nothing particularly original about it. I give it a common 2.9, solid story, writing, and art, and definitely worth specking out.
And for our next book, we went with X-Men: The Trial of Magneto #1. It's written by Leah Williams and artist by Lucas Warnick. This book was just okay for me. Personally, I think it could have been a bit better, but we go ahead and we start off right off the bat where Scarlet Witch has been murdered and X-Force is on the case to try and figure out who her killer was. All the evidence is really pointing towards Magneto being the killer, and they really kind of hammer that in all the way up until like the last 3 pages of the book. And honestly, that was really it wasn't very good for me. But the last 3 pages really got me more interested in the book, where we find out that Scarlet Witch, as she has been murdered, is still alive somewhere, and that is a little bit more intriguing for me. I gave this book a 3 out of 5. It's a good book, it's okay, nothing very special. Hopefully the next one picks up a bit.
Up next for me is Kang the Conqueror #1 by Marvel Comics. Written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, and illustrated by Carlos Magno and Espen Grundtjern. Hopefully I pronounced that right. So this is a very well-written story that takes us through much of Kang's origin as a future version of Kang is teaching a teenage version of Nathaniel Richards what it means to be a Kang. They focus on all of his defeats, and you get to relive those moments from the original comics in this new art style, so it's really cool. The story leads way to a whole new Kang arc that gives us a new perspective on Kang's lives throughout history, and I'm really looking forward to it. I rated this at a 3.8 out of 5, and this was my pick of the week.
All right, the next book we will be presenting is Star Wars: War of the Bounty Hunters #3 by Marvel, of course. The writer is Charles Soule, and the artist is Luke Ross. I really did like this issue. It was full of tension and action. We got Chewie and Boba Fett going toe-to-toe, talking smack. We got Vader flexing on everyone. All the crime lords, all the Hutts, and I mean everyone. Then we got Kira, and damn, she absolutely has no fear of Vader. Even Jabba the Hutt, he kind of got punked out, but Kira was like not having it. She talks trash like right to his face, right in his face. And when Vader ignites his lightsaber, she's like, bet son, and she pulls out her weapons of her own. But yeah, it's a great story, great issue. I cannot wait to see how they mesh this story with what we get at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. I'm going to give it a thrilling 4.4, and it's going to be my pick of the week.
For our next book, we went with Power Rangers #10. It's written by Ryan Perot and artist by Moises Hidalgo. This book is just as good as the other ones. It's always a solid read, great writing, great artwork, and in this book we follow along with Yale, which is a cat-like alien companion to the Omega Rangers. In this book, we see that Yale is really protecting this group of kids from a monster on Safe Haven. While this is all going down, we get a little bit of an origin story about Yale, which is really kind of cool, because at the end of the story, they really hint that something is really going to be taking off for him, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5. It's a great book. The writing's always great. Again, the art is always good. It's a solid pickup, guys. You won't be disappointed.
Third book for me is Second Chances #1 by Image Comics. This is written by Ricky Mammoni and illustrated by Max Bertolini. The art style is really cool. It's a black and white comic and has a Sin City vibe to it. The story is about a fixer who gives second chances to people who mess up. They call him and he cleans up their mess and creates a new life for them while killing off the old life, but he also has a conscience, so he sees the old life through to the end, even going so far as to deliver life insurance payouts to the family that gets left behind. So I thoroughly enjoyed this story and am looking forward to the next issue. I rated this at a 3.6 out of 5.
The next issue we will be discussing is Compass #3 by Image. The two writers is Robert McKenzie and Dave Walker, and the artist is Justin Greenwood. This appears to be a story of resilience and persevering. There seem to be two characters who are students of the same mentor or teacher and in a healthy rivalry, both on the same but separately taken quest. This is the first issue of Compass that I've personally read, and I have to admit I felt pretty lost with what was going on. I imagine it is an entertaining and exciting story. However, for this issue, I felt like it was hard to really focus on what was going on. There was just like so much happening. Art is great. The storytelling itself is well done. Again, I was just kind of lost with the plot, but I give this issue a bemusing 2.8. Reading 2 Image books this week, my expectations were really high, but they just kind of both felt like good enough.
And for our next book, we went with Elric, The Dreaming City #1. It's written by Julian Blondell and art is by Julian Tello. This book blew me away. I was so surprised at how well it was written, and the artwork definitely complemented it. I really need to go back and pick up all the Elric books because I had never read anything of this, and this has got me hooked. Guys, there's so much to talk about this, and unfortunately a minute is never long enough, but it is amazing. It's got great writing, the artwork is there, the story hooks you in, it's very Game of Thrones adventure. It's just a fun book. I'm going to be putting this on my list for pickup. I got to continue the story, and I'm going to be looking for the originals. This is my pick of the week. I rated it a 4.2 out of 5.
My final book for the week is Eat the Rich #1 by Boom Studios. This is written by Sarah Gailey and illustrated by Pius Back and Roman Titov. Hopefully I pronounced that right too. So this is a very weird story. It follows a dating couple on their way to visit the man's family for the summer. And his family is very rich, and she apparently is not from a family of the same economic background. So she's very nervous about the whole event. And he is also very nervous, but for a completely different reason. The only time he's ever done these family outings is when he's been drunk, and now he is sober. So he is very nervous about having to go through with this summer vacation with his family and do these parties and stuff completely sober. So it's a little hard to follow along and ends on a massive cliffhanger that changes the whole dynamic to the story. It seems like it could have had a bit more context provided throughout just to make the story flow a little bit better, and just needed a little bit more to it. Overall, though, it is a solid story, and I will be picking up the next issue just to see where it's going. I rated this at a 3.2 out of 5.
Well, all right, guys, that does it for this week's 10 and 10. We barely made it in that 10-minute mark, but we were able to do it. Guys, I hope you all enjoyed this list we put together for you. It was a really cool week, and we definitely love doing this. If there are any books that you guys are interested in this coming Wednesday, please let us know down in the comments, and hopefully we can get it thrown on that list and reviewed for you. Guys, while you're at it, hit that like button and the subscribe button. We'd love to definitely continue to bring out more content for you, and we want to make sure you're not going to miss it. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later.